Gentlemen, welcome to our first ever um, interview, our first ever little podcast. Get it set up here so we can see the chat while we are doing this podcast. Um, Today I have a very, very special guest, a very good friend of mine for longer than I can even think. I mean, me and Jim here have been friends for almost a decade, about 9 years. Been through a lot, so I figured who better for our very first interview on the channel. Joe, introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Joe. Thank you for having me on this podcast of yours.
Hey,
Um,
ain't nothing special. Ain't nothing special.
Anything you do is special. So,
uh, you give me too much credit. Well, I am more than happy to
um,
have you on here.
of course.
So
So,
go
what
ahead and
would you
tell
like to
us.
ask me?
Yeah, tell us a little about yourself. If you could describe yourself in 5 words to someone you just met, how would you do it? What words would you use?
Oh, 5 words. Odd, possibly insane. I guess funny. Cool and handsome. How about that?
Yeah, always humble. Always humble. Throw that one in there
Yeah.
too. Okay, okay. So, where would you say you're from?
Alaska, United States.
Alaska. That's yeah. I would say so. I would say so. You spent a good majority of your life up there. I also wasn't born in Alaska, but
Oh yeah.
I do say I am from Alaska because I mean, once you're Alaskan, you're Alaskan. You know, it's not really who's born there and who's not there. It's who fits there. You know.
It's a cultural mindset. Yeah, it's a unique culture, that's for sure.
Yeah, tell me about the Alaskan culture.
Well, at least the part where I'm at in Alaska, it's a very small type community, which apparently people like to run stop signs, but um, small tight knit community, you know, um, cultural wise, I think a lot of it comes with the freedom that you get from Alaska. Um, Luke, who's a gentleman who helps me learn about the Bible in my Bible studies, he even said it perfectly, and this is what we've always discussed: is it's the last place that's like old world Americana, like what our great grandfathers had.
I gotcha.
It's got that spirit.
I gotcha. So, is there like a bunch of white picket fences? You know, suburbia, that kind of American dream, or how do you explain the American dream?
No, it's not like the idyllic, like maybe like Fallout American dream, where it's kind of like 1950s hunky dory, sort of deal. Just the freedom, you know. There's not a lot of laws like in the lower 48 or strange stipulations or um, like city folk mindset, I guess. You get a little bit of that, I guess, down south with Anchorage, but there's it's more laissez-faire, I guess, here, you know. Uh, Give me a minute to think. How do I word this? It's you can just breathe here, in the lower 48, it's all congested, you can just escape here, I guess, hunt, go out for a hike, drive to a
Uh-huh.
different part, small town community.
Absolutely.
In the lower 48, you kind of lose a lot of that. A lot of these smaller communities in the lower 48 have been swallowed by larger cities. They just lose themselves. They kind of lose their communal aspect of that, their small community culture. And
Yeah.
it's just the Denver area or the Seattle area. It's almost like its own little state. Whereas
Yeah.
here, like folks in Anchorage are a bit different from folks in Fairbanks, and folks in Fairbanks are different than folks in like Cooper Landing or Point Hope, Alaska, or any of the other small villages that are remote.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, I've always said that whenever I'm talking about Alaska, I usually say like it's the last free state in the union, you know, truly free. And it is unfortunately getting a little more strict. I've heard that like hunting now is draw only, which wasn't the case when I was up there, which is it's a shame. Um, but it is interesting because every town up there is so secluded and isolated from a lot of other towns that Alaska doesn't have like so much as like a culture as a state, like you see with a lot of other places like Texas. Um, it's like every town has its own culture. It's its own little like people, you know. And there are some things that most of the towns share, you know, like if you live in a place that's fucking cold like that, there's gonna be some things that every town has in common. But for the most part,
Probably overlap. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for the most part, like you definitely see a certain culture that's different with every single town, and I really like that. You know, it's like what you're saying. There's such a strong sense of the community there that you just don't get in the lower 48 as much. Whether it's city people or country people, because you do have country in the lower 48, of course, but it's different. It's different. People kind of keep to themselves, whereas in Alaska, I feel like you have to have that community because when things go wrong, you need those people. You depend on each other. You know, whether it's breaking down on the side of the road at 40 below, or you know, you shoot a moose way out in the boonies and you can't get it out on your own, so you call up your buddies, and you know, the whole community shows up to get the moose out, to help package the meat, and then you know, you have a big potluck and you everyone eats, and it's just a very strong sense of community up there because you need each other. And I do miss that about Alaska. I really do.
100%, and like Alaska, with the rest of the United States, it's a diverse place. We got many different types of people, many, it's mostly Christian, but we got many different denominations up here. Um, politically, obviously, especially during these times, politically, people reside in themselves, but even still, with all these sort of walls that, people set up in the lower 48, at least, you don't really see it here. People still disagree. People may not like it, but, at the end of the day, we're people. We're living here, we got to take care of each other. And that's something
Absolutely.
that really you kind of miss in the lower 48, at least from what I've seen, from the parts I've seen in the lower 48. This people just you kind of get lost in the ocean of people, and people kind of stick in their own um, worldview communities, their own ideologies. Here, you don't really have that. If you stick with your worldview ideology here, you're going to be a pretty lonely person. So, and you don't want to be
Agreed.
a lonely person in Alaska.
No, absolutely. I agree. I
Otherwise, you become
absolutely
a
agree.
statistic. You know,
Yeah.
sadly, but
No,
that's a truth here.
that is an unfortunate truth up there. It's a harsh place. It's a harsh place. I mean, you're either you're either meant for Alaska or you're not. You know, it's not
Yeah,
for the faint of heart, for sure. For
you love it
sure.
or
I
you hate it, man. That's at least from
exactly.
a lot of people outside of Alaska who don't like live here or live here long term. It's only the two extremes.
Yep.
You're either
Yep.
for it or you're not. And
Yeah, I was
it has
actually
got problems.
talking.
Like it's not perfect. It's not like the people on YouTube who oh, Alaska's perfect. Just run away to Alaska and your life will be solved. It might be the case for some people, but for other people, this place might hurt you. This place might do you harm. You got to really do your research and make sure this is something you want. But
Mhm. Yeah. No, I get asked about
if
it a
it is
lot.
something you want, it's the greatest place on earth, really, in my opinion. It's God's country. I believe that.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I get asked about it a lot. You know, that's one thing you experience a lot, being from Alaska. You know, whenever you're in the lower 48, you'll get asked, we get asked about it, like, oh, what's Alaska like? Whatever, everyone always wants to know. And actually, today I was in a taxi and having this exact conversation, about Alaska and what it's like. And I said the exact same words that you just said. You either love it or you hate it. There's no in between. You are either meant for Alaska or you're not. It is for some people and not for others.
Yeah, it certainly makes for good bar talk
It
when you're from
does. It
Alaska.
does.
You always got stories. You always got something people want to hear about when you're from Alaska.
Indeed. Well, as much as I would love to do a podcast all about Alaska, let's move on to another topic. Tell me about
Yeah,
your
something a little
passions.
bit more important.
Yeah, something about
My
you.
passion.
Something about you. Your passions. What are you passionate about? I mean, I know, but they don't know. So tell me about like, what makes you passionate? What interests you in life?
Well, I guess my newest and my highest priority passion is my faith and getting closer to God and our Lord Jesus Christ, which I have you to thank to help me set myself on that path to surrender myself to Christ. Um, for more like earthly desires, I like history. I think history is very interesting, specifically with like the 20th century. I collect like World War II memorabilia, stuff like that. I think it's fascinating, like holding historical objects physically and kind of like looking into the past, thinking about like the people's mindsets back then. Um, you know, uh, Kind of getting into automobiles now. Um, kind of helped me steered onto that. I'm getting more interested in uh automobiles and automobile culture and like mods and stuff. I like movies. I really like watching really good movies, like Blade Runner or The Thing or The Shining. Um, I like music too. Music's really cool. It's kind of a good way to uh I don't know what you call it. Kind of like emotionally resonate, kind of like art, just experience art and stuff like that. I like reading books from time to time. I like being outdoors. I like hiking, uh, camping, being out in nature, God's country. Um, Other passions I have, hmm, I like guns. Guns are cool. If you're from Alaska, you're bound to like guns, so it's kind of common. Uh, and let's see, anything else? I do have like passions in art. I'm not really proficient in art, but like I really respect art, like music making, drawing, writing, poetry, stuff like that. Like I don't really do it because I'm not good at it, but I really enjoy other people's art or kind of dabbling in it, I guess, expressing myself in some way.
Okay. Okay. Tell me about art. What kind of art do you like?
Art that I like? Oh, I
Yeah,
don't
like
know. um
what?
I guess there's many different kinds of art. With music, I guess I really enjoy like Tally Hall. It's kind of like a niche underground band that's like popular, but it's still like underground, I guess. Uh, they're just their musical lyrics is so interesting and so thoughtful. I like music that kind of makes you think or has a message or a meaning. Same things with like cinema. I really like things with a good message or allegories and stuff like that. With books, books I would consider art too. My favorite book is Moby Dick, by Herman Melville. Kind of an old person book, I guess. Maybe something you read in high school, but I mean, to me, that book really resonated with me in a beautiful way, and I think any young man should read it. Really, I think you benefit from reading it. Art, in the terms of like painting and drawing, I think it's really cool. I think it's a beautiful way of expression. Uh, I enjoy looking at other people's art, like painting, drawings, um, things of that nature. Uh, would like to get into painting, kind of like Bob Ross, uh, gentleman who also lives in Alaska, as all great people do, I suppose. But yeah, that's the kind of art that interests me.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, I remember Joe here. He is he kind of underplayed it a little bit, but he is obsessed with that damn book, Moby Dick. I mean, absolutely
I
obsessed. He uh he read a book, I
can
think it's
make a
called
podcast
Under
about it.
yeah. He read a book, I believe it's called Under the Lighthouse. Is that it?
Under the Lighthouse.
It's about it's a spooky story about the thing that lives under the guy's lighthouse and he's all alone and he's like going crazy. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that book. I know the movie The Lighthouse with
Oh, okay,
Robert
maybe it's the movie.
Pattinson.
Maybe it's the movie I'm thinking of. My bad. But regardless, there was a piece of art that Joe consumed here, and he really liked it. It was about lighthouses, and so on a little autism trip, while we were down in Oregon, I decided I was going to take Joe to see a lighthouse. So I started looking into where the lighthouses were in Oregon, and I was like, you know what? What if we just went down the whole coast and saw every freaking lighthouse there is? So we did. We went down the coast of Oregon and visited every single lighthouse on the Oregon coast. And it was the furthest we have ever went out of our way for a little autistic interest, I
Version.
suppose. Yeah, it was a good time. But I'll tell you what, I mean, we were in that car. It was man, what was it, June, July? And
Oh
it
yeah,
was
it's like 80, 90.
It was
No
hot as
AC.
balls. There was no AC in my car. We had all the windows down, the sunroof open. Just miserable. But we had a good time. We had a really good time.
I agree. I really enjoy that trip. It's one of the highlights of
Indeed.
my time.
Indeed. Yeah, it was a good time. Right before that, we did a road trip around Alaska, checked out a bunch of things, went hiking on a glacier. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So,
I agree,
Joe,
yes.
on on my Twitch, in my Discord, you until this point have been known as Chatty Stalin. Where does that name come from?
Yes. Um, so the Stalin part comes from you and I guess my other friends back in high school. Uh, just because, I like 20th century history. My name's Joseph. So, hey, Joseph Stalin. So it's kind of my little nickname, high school. Hey, Stalin.
Indeed.
The chatty part, the chatty part, I came up with it for my gamer tag for Xbox. And it's just, a combination of the word daddy and Chad, Chatty Stalin. There you go.
I like it. I like it. That is where the grandiose name of Chatty Stalin came from. Absolutely. So I got a little list here I wrote up of things to talk about on this podcast. I have on my do list Taco Bell, World War II, history, passions, which we've covered, books, we've covered a little bit. Tell me about Taco Bell, because for some reason you told me to put that on the list of things to talk about. So tell me
Yeah.
about Taco Bell.
Yeah. I guess I jokingly said to add it. But let's discuss it. I like Taco Bell. Actually just had some for lunch. It's good. Expensive, like all fast food these days. I dig like the 90s aesthetic of like back in the day of Taco Bell. I guess it's kind of like a comfort food for me. I like Taco Bell. I'm watching like a video essay on YouTube or something. And yeah, that's about it. Chicken quesadilla extra sauce is like my favorite thing. The Doritos Locos Taco. That's what I
Uh,
get usually.
that's good. That's good. I remember in high school, my best friend Cole, back in Oregon, we would go to Taco Bell every single lunch. Get my little Mitsubishi, same one we went around in Oregon in, and we'd roll on down to Taco Bell, and he'd always get the cheese quesadilla, but he would say no sauce. And I remember on multiple
Crazy.
occasions we were late to school because he'd get his food, we'd open it up, and Joe, you know how I am. If my friends aren't happy, I'm not happy. So he'd open it up, see there was freaking sauce all over his quesadilla, and he'd be so upset about it. He's like, "Oh, it's whatever, it's whatever. I just won't eat." And I'm like, "Absolutely not." We'd drive back there, and I'd chew out the freaking drive-through, like, "What the hell, man? I said one thing, no sauce. So why the hell's it got sauce?" I don't think the Taco Bell workers like me very much because we were there every day, and it was like every other day that I was yelling at them about sauce on the quesadilla. Like, "Hey, I'm here every day. How the hell have you not figured it out yet? Don't put sauce on the fucking quesadilla." But those good times, good times. We actually just did a stream for Cole because it was the anniversary of him passing. So that would be the
Yeah,
the
I
wrap
saw that
today on
on
this
your
channel.
YouTube.
Indeed, yeah, it was a fun little video. I wanted to do more for Cole, but I just didn't know what to really do for something like that. So we ended up just reacting to videos and having a good little chat.
Well, there'll be more anniversaries to come, so I'm sure you can think of something more if you so choose.
Indeed, maybe next time we'll do a big shooting stream. I don't really know how Twitch feels about that, but maybe we'll just make a YouTube video out of it.
Yeah, that'd be fine, and you'd be up here, so we could do it together. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Go shoot off some guns, buy some tannerite or something, blow some stuff up. Be fun.
I agree.
Indeed. Yeah. I remember that 4th of July, you and I were down in Colorado. We bought, I think it was like 5 pounds of tannerite or something. We were just blowing shit up all night. You were laying on top of the car with my rifle, blowing up fucking tannerite. Good
Yes,
times.
good time, good time.
Indeed. So, in your passion, you talked about your collecting. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I spend pretty much most of my money irresponsibly on old junk worn or used by dead people. Uh, um, yeah, I just really enjoy it. I think it's a way for me to get more connected with history rather than just kind of digesting information via books or documentaries or other similar media. Um, you can get a feeling of a time. You can kind of get a feeling of like people of that time or maybe their thoughts. Seeing how equipment or uniforms have changed since about close to 100 years now, and you know there's some things that uh, I guess are I don't know how to word it. Some things that are obsolete now, but during the time were very important or instrumental or even kind of like obvious, like no brainers. Why wouldn't you have this? So to me, that's very interesting experience that you can only really get by like holding and examining, appreciating the physical object from that time.
Oh, interesting, interesting. So you say you spend a lot of money on this. What's the most expensive thing that you've bought in your collection?
Oh man, the most expensive thing I bought.
Yeah, and a story to go
It
along with it
was
if you got one.
story, a story about the object or a story about
Yeah,
me.
like how'd it go? How'd you buy it? How does that whole thing work?
Um, so one of my collecting passions is the Sturmabteilung or the SA, or the brown shirts, right? Um, during World War II or the pre-war era in Germany, um, which was basically the political militia of the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Um, And so, one of the, I guess, most coveted things of that organization for the collector would be the SA Feldherrnhalle. Um, and the word Feldherrnhalle is an honorary title given to this SA regiment. Uh, and it's named. the name is from the Feldhenhala Memorial, or Field Marshal's Hall. That's what the word translates to. And essentially, what the representation of that is when Hitler and the other National Socialist leaders tried to do the beer hall putsch and basically take over the government in Bavaria, uh, essentially a coup. They marched past the Feldherrnhalle Memorial, um, you know, to overthrow the government, where they were met by the Bavarian police slash Reichswehr, or the army at the time. Uh, and essentially, the coup failed. There was a shootout. I think like nine or eight uh, party members were killed, as well as three police officers slash soldiers. I'm not quite sure. Were killed. Were killed. Hitler got in prison. That's where he wrote Mein Kampf and stuff like that. And then that's when he decided to pursue his career politically solely. Um, and so, when the Nazis came to power, this site became sort of like a kind of like a holy ground, I guess, where they would honor the fallen party comrades who were shot and killed, as well as the police officers too. Interestingly enough. And so the Feldherrnhalle Memorial became a very important iconography piece of the political movement. Um, and so I guess went on a little bit of a tangent. So yes, the uniform I bought was a wartime SA Feldherrnhalle uniform. And I spent about like 8 grand on it. I really did. Bought it from Europe, bought it from a reputable German seller. Uh, and yeah, that's the piece I bought. I currently actually have it on consignment. I'm trying to sell it to make some money off of it, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yes, that is the most expensive piece I have bought from my collection. Probably should have bought a car. Probably should have saved it for savings or the stock market. I don't know, but oh well. I am me.
How much did you say you paid for it?
$8,000.
$8,000. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you could have bought
Yes,
quite a nice car with that.
I know. Uh, oh well.
But I,
Oh
I would
well.
say I would say passion is much more important in the long run.
Yeah, and these things do hold value. So I'm not like it's not like I necessarily threw my money away. I can always get money out of it. Um,
So
so it's like an investment piece.
I can see nothing happens. I like it. I like it. That's cool. It's very cool. Hmm.
Further
But what would you
questions?
say? What would you say is your favorite piece in the collection? If that's the most expensive, it could be your favorite. But what's your favorite?
So I don't know. I'll just go look right now since I am at my house. That's a good question. Because I got some pieces large and I got some pieces small. Um, I really like the SA uniform here that got displayed on the mannequin. Pre-war brown shirt uniform looks really cool, very interesting. Um, it's got that presence when it's on the mannequin. But I'd say honestly, one of my recent kind of little favorite things that I've been getting into is these. They're called tinnies, right? Um, they're essentially just pins. Um, they're for the rice party tag. And what that means is uh, um, it was basically, I'm trying to figure out the translation. It basically means like state party day, essentially. And what these days, more like weeks, were is a large celebration of like the party. And that's where you would often see in like documentaries, like the famous speeches of Hitler. Uh, and these days, these weeks were held in Nuremberg. and that was like the party capital, right? And that's where later the Nuremberg trials were held. But these little tinnies, they hold a lot of history. These big rallies, anyone could wear these, right? You just wear them for the week. Could be a lowly party member in the SA, could be a civilian, it could even be, like a political leader, maybe like Rudolph Hess or something, because everybody wore these. You can get these for about 50 to $100. They're cool. They got, different designs. Each rally had a different kind of, what do you call it? Theme, a theme. So like the 1933 Rice Party Tag and the event would be the Rally of Victory, because that's when the National Socialists won seats in the government and actually had power in the government and took over. Um, you know, and so you can get these for pretty cheap, from 1929 all the way to 1939, and they're just kind of neat. You display them really easily. You can display them with other stuff from the Rice Party Tag. Like I got a little postcard booklet. I got a beer mug coming in, or a beer stein. So yeah, I think I've been really enjoying those as of late for my collecting.
I like it. I like it. Is there anywhere that I can show uh your pieces, your collection? Like, do you mind if I follow up your Instagram or any of that?
Well, I'm not really active on my Instagram. I probably should be. Um, what is it called? Pacific Militaria. I think that's what my collecting account is called. I haven't posted on there in like a year or two. I really should, but I got some stuff posted. I do plan to post again, but it's just kind of like a priority of my time. I know. Um, so yeah, if you want to view some stuff there, you can check it out there at Pacific Militaria. Um, see some stuff I've already posted, and maybe I'll post again here soon.
All right. All right. Well, we will put that in the chat. Why not? If anyone wants to go check it out. There we go. Too easy. All right. Well, you said one of your passions was faith. Tell me about that.
Thanks. It's a new passion. I've I've only started going to church for maybe 2, 3 months now. My denomination is Orthodox Christian. Um, and really what that means is, you try to get closer to God. You try to live a humble life, to be Christ-like, to surrender yourself to our Lord, and live a life of humility, and kindness, which sounds kind of easy, right? But really, it's quite harder than you think. I think than most people realize. We kind of have all things. We have a lot of things we struggle with, or we take pride in, and sometimes we kind of lose ourselves in our ego. Um, but yeah, I've been trying to study more of the Bible, try to get more learned on it, better myself as a person, and be saved. So yeah, that's what I've been working on in terms of faith.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at your Instagram. You don't have hardly anything posted.
Yeah, I know.
I could have swore you
They're
had more
really
than
sad.
this. Some good pieces though. Mostly Chilean. Like it.
Yes. Yeah. I also collect Chilean and West German stuff like that. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, you got some beautiful pieces. I love this white one.
Yes. Yes, that one actually belonged to a friend of the dictator. Augusto Pinochet, who later ruled Chile in 1973 when he ousted Allende, the communist, um, which is cool. It's got his name in it. You know, it's from around the late 50s, early 60s. I even got a picture of him wearing the gray one, same uniform. It's got the ribbon bar hole where he had the ribbon bar in his photo.
Yeah, I actually
Um,
just looking at that. Yeah.
yeah, um, yeah, that's a cool piece. You know, it's one of the few pieces that I have that's actually connected to a historical figure. You know, a lot of like the German stuff, it's just kind of like its own thing. Generally, there's no name attached, not even for like a lower guy. So it's kind of a mystery, right? But with that, it sort of has more significance. It's like, wow, this is who this person was. This was his uniform, part of his life. He knew a dictator, you know. So you can kind of imagine what that uniform has seen like, which is really cool. And what stories it has, I can't tell.
Yeah, sort of feeds into the experiencing history rather than just hearing about it.
Exactly. You know.
Yeah. I've always thought it was really cool. These guys that go down into like the South and they metal detect in like old battlefields and stuff from the Civil War. And they pull out, cannonballs that were fired and bullets, even buttons from uniforms, all kinds of stuff. And I've always thought that was really cool. Something I kind of wanted to try, because you're holding a cannonball that, a Confederate or a Union soldier had themselves. Um,
Oh
Gosh, it's
yeah,
so loud.
it's a
But
really cool hobby.
yeah,
Sadly, in Alaska, there's not much of stuff like that in the way to do. Maybe down south where there was the Russians, but that's kind of about it. But yeah, I think that sort of experience would be very cool to have because not only are you like digging up these like relics, but I mean, if you really think about it, like you are probably the first person to hold that cannonball, that button, or whatever since the Civil War. You know, it has lain dormant in its
yeah,
territory ever since then, and you discovered that. You know, and I think that's what makes it kind of special.
yeah. I think about that a lot. Kind of personalizing or personifying items. Where you're like, did this cannonball even know? Not to like say that the cannonball can think or whatever, but like, did this cannonball ever think it was going to be, dug up out of the earth again? Or was this cannonball just doomed to be forgotten by the world? And now, you know, um, goodness, something we're gonna have to deal with, unfortunately. This cannonball was just doomed to be forgotten by the world, and now, you've got it. You're cleaning it up. You're displaying it and kind of giving it some honor, some valor, almost like it was a soldier itself in that battle.
Yeah, you give it a reverence, and you know you can think about like why is this cannonball here? Did it kill somebody? Did they just drop off a cannonball because they needed to get the hell out of Dodge? You know, and just left their equipment. Like, what's the story of this cannonball? And maybe if the terrain is right, maybe you can piece something together, right? Okay, well maybe here's some buttons, or if there's some bones, right? That could confirm something. um, it's almost like what do you call it? Like detective work. You know, when you're out in the field like that, which is interesting. You see the similar things too in Europe with like World War II relics. People will, like in Ukraine or the Russian area, people go in the swamps, and the swamp will like preserve like these equipment. And they'll pull out like helmets, MG 42s, MG 34s. And it's always kind of interesting to think of like, why is that there? Did someone die there? Did someone just ditch equipment? Like what's the story? You know,
Yeah.
which is
It
cool.
It's really cool
Mm.
because it makes me think of like when games have really good environmental storytelling. That's what it is. You know, you're looking at what remains of of something very important, something that happened that was very drastic. You know, and you're looking at what remains of that little story. There's a part in the first Halo on the flood level. I believe it's 343 Guilty Spark is the name of the level, and you come across what's left behind after the flood went through. And by now you've met the flood, they're out and about, you're fighting them. But you come onto this scene and there's a bunch of dead Marines lying on the ground in like this no, no. Sorry about that. Anyway, you come across all these Marines lying on the ground and they're like in this little holdout, you know. And next to them is a bunch of jackals. And you can tell by looking at this environmental storytelling that these Marines and these jackals teamed up to fight against the flood, which is like, you know, unheard of. You know, the Covenant and the humans working together at that point. And, you know, in the desperation of such a drastic event, you know, these unlikely allies work together. And unfortunately, they did all perish, but it's very cool when there's that environmental storytelling in the games, and I think it's no different in real life when you can kind of see this environmental storytelling that history is left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, it's very fascinating stuff, I think.
Absolutely, I love history for that and many other things. History is such an important aspect of the world that a lot of people kind of undermine.
Oh yeah, you know, I certainly agree with that. We kind of have the privilege of living in the present. You know, we don't have to really think about the struggles or the turmoils of the past or why things even happened in the past. What turmoils and struggles led to the things in the past, these significant events in our history. Yeah, we just kind of lose it all to pop culture and movies and TikToks and stuff like that. Just kind of gets lost in that way.
Yeah, indeed.
Further questions?
Sorry about that. Whenever the intercom comes on, I gotta mute it. Um, yeah. Okay. So let's see. What else we have to talk about? Conversation. Let's see. So we talked about books, stuff like that. I'll tell you what. So tell me a little more about like you and how you grew up. What kind of person you are, and what led to that.
First time, am I? Um, so I grew up in Alaska for pretty much all my life since I was a small boy, since I was like 5 years old. Um, went to public school, did fine there, I guess. Um, I had some turmoil, I had some uh parental issues, some parental problems. Which I guess was a bit of a struggle for me at the time, but I've since gone over that, and yeah, I think I'm a better person for it. It doesn't really bother me anymore. I went to middle school. Middle school was kind of fine. Had my first girlfriend there, whatever. Then went to high school. Freshman year was good. Nothing crazy. Just kind of meeting people, getting to know people. Sophomore year was a bit more interesting. I started getting more into the ladies, I guess. I don't know. Yes, I think it was sophomore year that I met you. Yes, that's the case. I met you in sophomore year, and then we became buddies, and then we became best friends, and then you moved out of Alaska, and then from that point on, just rode out high school, whatever. And then as a young adult, kind of worked some dead end jobs, like some store chains or whatever. Nothing really crazy. Um, you know, figuring myself out as a young adult, I guess. Experiencing more responsibilities, uh, that sort of thing that I'm sure many, the couple of people that are listening are probably going through, right? Same kind of turmoils. And, still something I'm still learning about. I'm still trying to become a more responsible adult and, to be that figure I strive to be, your better self. I forget what the Freudian term is, your alter ego, right? That sort of person you put on when you meet somebody new, you take your best foot forward. Try to strive to do that. So yeah, I guess that's where I'm at with my life, unless you want to know something more specific or more in detail.
Well, I mean, whatever you're willing to share. Obviously, I know pretty in depth most things, but we're trying to share a little more out here with these people. Yeah, yeah, I get it. I went through quite a bit of the turmoil. Growing up. Everyone got their little stories with such things, but yeah, I mean, I do regret moving away from Alaska. It definitely was not in my control nor my intention. But we did pretty fine, as being so far from each other. We made it through.
Yeah, still best friends now, after what, being away from each other more than since we've been with each other for as long as we've known each other.
Yeah,
Kind of a
yeah,
word
that's
salad, but
it's a crazy way to think about it. We became friends around 2017, 2016, and it was about 2018 that I took off, and so we were friends for maybe like 2 years in person, and then after that, it's been
video
countries
games,
countries
online
away from each
call,
other. Yeah,
yeah, the odd visit, the rare visit where we visit each other, which was always a good
good way to keep up. Yeah, it's crazy. We have spent the better part of 6, 7, 8 years completely separated, but still maintained a good friendship throughout. So it's pretty impressive.
one. Yes, certainly. I
Well, let's
mean,
see.
how many people drift away, after you get done with high school and you live in the same town, right?
Oh, absolutely.
What's the reason for that? But here we are living across the country. you know, it's a beautiful thing, really. I think it speaks to our friendship.
Indeed. Well, I'm gonna see. We got Gyro in the chat. He's been here pretty much the whole time. Go ahead and say hi to him.
Hello, Gyro. How are you today?
My most
This
loyal
fine
friend and
stone dog.
my most loyal viewer. Gyro, if you got any questions for Joe, go ahead and throw those in there. See if we can get any questions for him. He says he's stellar. Thanks for asking.
Good, good.
Our Canadian friends. We love our Canadian
Yes,
friends. We have.
our northern brethren.
Yeah, well, I guess to you it'd be Western brethren, but or
Oh,
Eastern
I guess
brethren.
good.
Eastern. He's actually to the
Most
south.
kinda.
Gyro wants to be interviewed
Oh,
next. We could arrange that 100%. 100%. Get a little taste of the Canadians under the
yes.
border.
Our foreign allies.
I would hope. Well, yeah, good old Gyro. Yeah, what is the craziest story from our friendship? I'm
Oh, I don't
interested.
know. We got a few, I think.
Oh, we got many. We got many, but I'm interested in what you think the craziest experience we've had. Whether it was the homeless guy in the dark or, Bumpy Jack, uh, we have so many crazy stories that will probably be told at our funerals. So what would you say to you is the craziest one?
Craziest one. One where I'm just like, I'm dumbfounded. I can't believe it happened.
Yeah, sure.
Man, I don't know. I feel like everything we do together is normal though, is the thing. So it's not like super crazy in my eyes.
That's nuts. Normal? Normal. You think the things that we've done are
Well,
normal?
normal for us, right? When we do it with each other, it's kind of just like, oh yeah, we're just having fun, whatever. Um, Craziest thing. I'll tell you what, the transmission fiasco that we suffered under this last February, that was pretty crazy. That was a really interesting experience.
All right, I have got to hear this story from your point of view, Joe.
My point of view. So we're driving all the way back from Louisville, Kentucky for the shows this military thing I wanted to go to, and Tristan was kind enough to take me all the way across the country and have loads of fun over in Louisville. So we're coming back. What's the state over to Colorado? That's like Kansas, right? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Kansas or
Yeah.
Idaho?
So what happened is we drove back from Louisville to Kansas City, but then we drove up to Nebraska and went into Colorado from Nebraska.
Nebraska for your brother. You're right. You're
Yes,
right. You saw your
yes.
brother. So at like the tail end of Nebraska, Tristan's been driving like constantly. He's been the driver for the whole trip, for the whole, I don't even know, like 18 hours of driving. He's been the one driver. And it's taken its toll on him. He's fading out, got to crash out. I already had like a beer because I wanted a beer, and Josh was like asleep. And so Tristan's like, Theodore, can you drive? Can you make it there? I just need some sleep. And you're like, hour. Theodore's like, yeah, I got it. So Theodore gets in his front seat, the driver's seat, puts on his weird music. And I kind of doze off too. I'm getting tired. And so, we rest in Theodore's hands at this point. And, I remember waking up because I remember hearing this weird noise. What the heck? I'm looking at Theodore, and Theodore's like, I don't know. He's like a deer caught in headlights. He's like all like stiff and scared looking. And then I hear it, the transmission. I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, well, maybe he'll pass, right? Maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe it's just tuckered out from a long drive. Who knows? Row, row, row. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, Tristan, and you're like, I know, I hear it. I'm like, oh gosh, we are in a pickle. And so Theodore's kind of wigging out. Tristan, you're just like, just drive, just get to the fucking gas station. You can make it. Theodore's like, okay. So I get up to the gas station. Theodore's still like freaking out.
No, well,
He's
hold
like,
on. We're missing we're missing a chunk of the story here. So I'll just fill in real quick. Yeah, I hear the noise. I'm asleep in the back, very uncomfortably, because the car is packed. I mean, packed with bags. Stuff we had bought, stuff we had brought. And so I hear the noise, and Theo's playing this god awful music. You guys know Theo. We do the Let's Plays of Terraria with Theodore, which we need to pick up again. But beside the point. Um, I get up. I look at the RPMs. They're bouncing up and bouncing down. The car's losing power because the transmission had no fluid. And I knew what was going on because I've dealt with it before. So I'm like, Theodore, just pull over. Just pull over. He's like, ooh. And I'm like, just pull over. It's no big deal. Just pull over. He's like, okay. And I'm already like a little upset with Theodore. because he made a big deal about driving. He didn't want to drive. He made a big deal about it. But Joe's not sober. Josh is not sober, and uh, no, no, no. My goodness, they were going off. Anyway, so uh, sure as can be, I tell him to pull over. I'm already upset with him because he's been playing this awful music while I'm trying to sleep and everything else. Let me double check on something real quick. Joe, keep him occupied. Continue the story.
Okay, so where do we leave off? So yeah, Theodore starts waking out on Tristan. Tristan's like, "Can you drive the fucking car or not?" Theodore's like, "I don't know. I'm seeing the shadow people." And Tristan loses his mind, right? He's just like, "Theodore, can you drive the fucking car or can you not?" Theodore's like, "I could drive. I could drive." And so Theodore continues driving. We get some peace. Transmission starts acting up again. I wake Tristan up. Tristan tells Theodore to go to this gas station. I think it was like a Love's or something. So we pull into this gas station. We're like stalling out. The transmission's just going out. Roll into this gas station.
Sorry
I mean,
about that.
literally
A little bit of
roll
drama
into
in the
this gas
barracks.
station. Drama?
Drama. Someone's posting TikToks in the barracks and they're freaking out trying to figure out who it is. And I'm not going down there because I'm not doing it. So, anyhow, continue.
So we pull into the gas station, right? After all this, after you freak out on Theodore if he can drive. So we pull into this like Love's, I think it was, or something. I mean, literally just like the thing was about to break down, we're just like right into the gas pump. Tristan knows what's up. It's the transmission fluid. So he's like, okay, let's go in. Let's go find some transmission fluid. Go in. We didn't even find transmission fluid. We found like transmission healing fluid or something, Not exactly what we were looking for. We pour that down. We're like, all right, let's just get home. Right. And at this point I think we're like what, like 10, 18 miles away from Denver. So we're
Yeah,
like, all
so
right,
we're
we're
we're just outside of Denver, and we still have like 3 hours to go. Yeah.
yeah. So we're like, let's just pull through. So we drive out and I noticed a cop car. I'm like, oh dang, look, there's some cops. This is like, oh man, all right. And so we drive out and sure enough, these coppers, man, they follow us. Tristan's like, fuck. Fuck. I was like, oh man, the gig is up. We're gonna get pulled over. And I remember, are you just driving and you're like, come on, motherfucker, pull me over. You just go around this freaking roundabout over and over again. And finally they pull us over. And well, that's when the night takes a turn for the worst. Um, get the two most uptight asshole freaking cops, these Denver cops, mind you. Um, just breaking our balls. We had guns, we carried guns on us. They were flipping out. The one guy was flipping out because Tristan had his pistol on the dashboard. He's like, "Why the fuck is it on the dash?" And like, it's a good spot, I can reach it. He's like, "Is there a round chambered in there? You're gonna fucking shoot you're gonna shoot someone on the road if you hit a bump." Because it's like, all right, and you're like, I remember when he asked you if it was chambered or not, you're like, I don't know. And he's like, you don't know? Because isn't it illegal to have a round chambered in Colorado, right?
Well, so here's the thing. No. I don't think it is. But in Denver, it is. And I didn't know if we were in the city limits yet. And so he made me nervous because he was, normally a cop knows a decent bit about guns, and he
Yeah.
didn't. He knew nothing. So, and he was like, "Is it loaded?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure." He's like, "What? You don't know if your gun's loaded?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, it's loaded." He's like, "Oh, so if you hit a bump, a round's gonna go off and go through the windshield." And I was like that's not how guns work, first of all, right? But like I was so dumbfounded by the question that I just looked at him and I was like, I guess. Like what do I even say to that? Like, no, that's not how guns work. But if you are convinced that it is how they work, I'm not going to argue with you. So I was just like, yeah, sure, I guess.
Yeah, he was just a real prick.
Oh
So
yeah, he
yeah,
was.
he gets you for what? The expired tags, right? Um, then he's asking you about the insurance. The insurance you have in your car is like expired, so but it's good. You got good insurance. You just need to call your mom, get it through the app that she's got it on. A whole kerfluffle, right? So you're calling your mom and stuff. Or no, that's after because they tell us to step out, right?
Yeah,
That's what
so
they tell us to step out
so
after
how
they ask for
how it
your
went,
insurance and stuff.
the cop was like, he's like, he asked me about the gun, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, all right, I need you to step out. Like the second we even discussed the gun, he's like, I need you to get out of the vehicle. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. I guess this is happening. So I get out, I walk to the back of the car, and he pats me down and whatever. And then they go and get everyone else out of the car, which makes sense. There's a gun, whatever. And as they're walking up to your door, I'm like, hey, just so you know, there's also another gun, in my buddy's door, and they're like, what? And they open your door and they get you out, they get Josh out, they get Theo out.
Yeah.
And now they're
And then they
freaking
tell
out
me,
because there's another gun.
yeah. And they're like, why the hell don't you have your gun in your holster? It's like, that's why do I need it in the holster of the car, bro? It's under the seat. It's fine. You know? Gee whiz. But yeah, I mean, we're getting treated like we're wise guys, you know? Like we're freaking peddling moonshine or something.
Yeah.
And it's cold, man. It was so cold in freaking Denver that
Yeah,
morning.
middle
Oh my
middle of
God.
February, no cover, so it's windy, it's cold. Poor Josh, I told him to dress for the cold, and he didn't bring anything for the cold. He's wearing shorts, and these
Yeah,
cops,
well,
you could tell he was a new guy. He was a new guy, and the sergeant that was with him was a field training officer. Like when he patted us down, he didn't even check the small of our back where you would hide a gun, which no big deal with us because we're not up to no good. But if we were some weirdos like they were treating us, like that would have been the dumbest thing they ever done. So yeah, he asked me if my guns are registered, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure in Colorado they don't need to be registered, do they? And he's like, I don't know, do they? And I was like, okay, like really? I was like, no, no, they don't. They don't need to be registered, and no, they're not registered. He's like, whose guns are they? And I'm like, they're mine. Like one was a birthday present, one I bought myself. Like they're they're both mine. No, they're not registered. No, they don't need to be registered. So I don't even know why you're asking me that. He's like, well, they're stolen. I was like, I don't know. Run the numbers. Like, no, they're not. They're not stolen. They still have their serial numbers. If they were stolen, they'd probably be scratched off. Like they're both legal firearms that I can legally carry in whatever way I see fit, loaded or not. They're both open carry as long as I'm not concealing them. They're fine. And it was on the dash so that when a cop walks up, he sees immediately, okay, there's a gun, So it was it was a shit show. And the whole insurance thing, my mom, it's through her plan. I just pay for it. And so, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to call her so that I can get my insurance information, but she's asleep. It's 3 o'clock in the freaking morning. And she's not answering. She's not answering. Finally, she answers, and now she's trying to log in, and it won't let her log in. So we're sitting there for like the better part of 2.5 hours in the cold, getting berated by these freaking cops. And, I'm trying to get my insurance. And they're like, yeah, if you can't get your insurance, the car is going to get impounded and all this. And I'm like, geez, going through the motions, finally get the insurance. I don't know. We never even did get the freaking insurance because I walked up to the sergeant. I was like, look, dude, like, can you just give us the freaking ticket and let us get out of here? We've had a long night. We're just trying to get home, and he's like, where's home? And I was like, I keep telling him where home is. And he keeps asking me again. He's like, well, why are you up here if you're going home? And I'm like, because we're coming from freaking Nebraska, like what? Then they'd ask me again, like 5 minutes later. I'm like, dude, I already told you, and it just became such a shit show. But eventually, finally, the sergeant, I think he got sick of the recruit just doing, fucking all kinds of bullshit. They're like searching my car and shit, and I'm like, taking notes, like, oh, I'm gonna use this in court. Uh, you know, Finally the sergeant's like, all right, like you guys go ahead, just get out of here. Here's the ticket for the registration and the insurance. I'm like, okay, cool. So went to court, showed him that I had insurance, and so that got written off, but I did have to pay the ticket for the registration, which no big deal. But yeah, it was a crazy event for sure. What happened after we ran into the cops, Joe?
Well, after the cops let us off the hook, I guess, um, they're like, all right, time to make it home.
Oh, hold
And
on. One more thing. Do you remember what the cop told me when about the guns when we left?
oh yeah, he said, I don't want you bringing guns into my city no more, or something along those lines.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to see another gun in my city.
He put the guns in the back of the hat. Hold on. Good Lord, they are going on about this video that's up somewhere. Anyway, so um what was I saying? Yeah. So he puts the guns in the back of the car and he's like, the guns are going in the back of the car and you better not take them out until you're out of my town. He's like, I don't appreciate you bringing guns into my town. Like he's the fucking sheriff of like some little small western town or something. It's fucking Denver, first of all. Like this is not your town. Okay. Second of all, like you're a fucking new guy. I can tell you're a new, fresh cop. Like you ain't shit, dude. Like I'm sorry. It was very pretentious. You could tell he thought he was going to clean up the whole city of Denver, and he's single-handedly going to solve every case. Kind of. It was just like this isn't the movies, bro. Like get over yourself. But I digress. So we continue down the road after that. Go
Yes,
ahead.
we
Go ahead, Joe. Tell the rest of the story. I don't want to interrupt you anymore.
no, I was just lighting a cigarette. So yes, we continue, and and the whole time we just see when we got pulled over, we're just seeing the shitty fluid we put in the transmission just leak. So we already know we're in trouble as soon as the cops leave if they don't impound the car or arrest us or whatever they do to us. But we're off the hook. We start making our way through Denver, and oh my gosh, stalling, 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 whatever. So we pull into another gas station. I remember it was next to a McDonald's. And mind
Mhm.
you, everyone everyone on this trip is basically broke now. We all spent our money in Louisville. Tristan at the time didn't have a job. Theodore, he has like debt and stuff. Josh, he's got kids to take care of, so he doesn't got a lot of money to go around. And so I'm the only one with any kind of real kind of money. And by real kind of money, I mean like $200 to my name. So yeah, so we pull in this gas station. We get like three or four like things of transmission fluids. And Tristan tells me the plan. He's like, all right, Joe, we're just going to ride it out. When it stalls, we'll pull on the side of the road, refill the transmission fluid, we'll get going. And then if we run out, we'll pull into another gas station and get transmission. So I spent like 180 bucks on transmission fluid just for it to go into the transmission and for it to go right out onto the freaking highway. And we did this for like 5 hours, I think. This process. I mean, it was like we were a pit crew. Like as soon as it was acting up, we would just like get out with all our fucking stuff, the funnel, the rag, the transmission fluid, fill it up, get back on the way. And finally, I think it's around time. And we're almost, what is that place called? Canyon, right? We're almost to Canyon. So we're almost there. And Tristan's starting to lose heart. He's like, maybe I should just call mom, see if homeboy with the trailer can pick us up. I was like, nah, man, we got it. Like, I think this will be enough to get us through. And sure enough, we got home. We got home on $180 of transmission fluid with a broken transmission. Um, yeah, it was incredible. It was incredible. Sleep deprived too. We got no flipping sleep for like two
Yeah,
days.
it was pretty cool. Pretty crazy. All right, well, unfortunately, I am gonna have to cut this short. I gotta go downstairs. But I will catch you later, Joe. Thank you guys for watching, and maybe we will continue this later.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Goodbye, internet. Have a good one, internet.